Hello everyone. Today I'm going to begin the first chapter translation of a old bonsai book named Japanese Small Bonsai Pots and Potters, The Fun of Small Bonsai Pots. And it's by Hirosaburo Shinoda slash Sanyusha. It's the first edition published in 1976. Okay, so this book begins on, the text begins on page 49. The first couple pages are the bonsai pots that are referred to in the text. When the text is going to refer to a bonsai pot, I'm going to show that pot. And just keep in mind, this is a Google translation, and then I break down the translation into my words, so it's not exactly the Japanese translation, but it's pretty good, and you're going to get the gist of all the information that Hirosaburo is talking about. So, and here's a warning, my pronunciation is going to be terrible because these words are pretty difficult to pronounce. But let's jump into this. Okay, so go get yourself a warm drink or some snacks, because this is going to be a nice, pretty long little reading. And we begin the chapter. It says Heian Tofukuji Temple, and then it shows his commonly made trident maple leaf chop that I am displaying right now. And now let's get into it. So each person has something called a genius, which is unique to that person, and it is extremely rare for someone to receive it. Even if we are related to a master potter who has this genius, we do not always inherit this. The Tofukuji Temple in Kyoto created one of the few bonsai pot masters of the modern times. His name was Kizeburu Mizuno. After Mr. Mizuno died, his son took over the kiln. In Kyoto, pottery has been practiced since ancient times. It is said that the Toshirin made royal vessels in the region of Yamashiro Kuni Fushimi, currently Fushimi City. The pottery in this region started during the 17th year of the Emperor Toyotomi Hideyoshi. Now, what is Kyoyaki? It refers to pottery of Kyoto. Since Toyotomi Hideyoshi Azuchi Momoyama, since this era. After Oda Nobunaga, the shogun, unified Japan. Kyoyaki was widely incorporated into the tea ceremony culture that flourished during that time. Since the beginning of the Edo period, world-famous ceramic geniuses such as Ninisai Nomura and Kenzan Ogata set the stage in Kyoto. They played an active role in the blossoming of Kyoyaki. Kyoyaki is referred to as graceful and the confined candle. So that's probably a mistranslation there, but that's what it said. After these artists came other famous artists: Rokubai, Shimizu, Okuda Isen, Ninami, Dohachi, etc. Before the Meiji Restoration, Kyoto was the proud capital of Japan for many years. During the Meiji Restoration, the capital became the city of Tokyo. This was a big change for Japan, and it stagnated the ceramic industry for a brief period of time. After this period, the amount of pottery that was exported to Western countries increased, especially around the 10th year of the Meiji era. This exporting business was great and gradually caused some prosperity. It was around this time that Mikiyama and Ryosai and others actively signed the seal of Japan on their works, and this raised the national prestige. In the Meiji era, Other artists that actually left their names on their bonsai pots are Kiyomizu Yohei, Takahashi Dohachi, Ito Toyama, Mikiyama Denshichi, and others. Kiyomizu Rokubai was also quite famous in the pottery world at this time period. Shoji Hamada was another giant star in the pottery world, who was originally from Tokyo. Koku from the Taisho era came to the municipal ceramics experiment station and started research and training, laying the foundation that we have today. The first director of the Kyoto Municipal Ceramic Experiment Station was Mr. Nagataka Fuji. Nagataka made his footprint and achievements in the Kyoto ceramics industry and made a big impact on the industry as a whole. In this way, the name of Kyoto ware is now famous internationally, not just in Japan. Here's the first pot that the author of this book talks about. He says it's a vermilion, I believe he says pinch pot. He describes it as hand-bending, round, and it's about 13.5 centimeters in diameter. This is an early work from the Tofukuji temple, and although it seems to have been casually made at a first glance, there's a lot of work that went into making this piece. For a small bonsai pot, it shows off a solid style. Presently, these pots demand high prices. Even if the bonsai pot is small, around 10 centimeters, it can cost tens of thousands of yen for good pieces, and hundreds of thousands of yen for not so good pieces. Often, works of art are not as valuable during the life of the artist, and they go up considerably in price once the artist dies. Tofukuji's pots are no exception to this. Tofukuji is actually the name of the kiln. It is said that it was named because the kiln was in the precincts of the Tofukuji temple. Tofukuji's real name is Kizeburu Mizuno of Higashiyama, Kyoto. Mr. Kizeburu Mizuno was born in the 23rd year of the Meiji era and was adopted by the house of Yagiya-san, who was born in Owari no Kuni and has the name called Yanagizen. It is said that Tofukuji's pots originated from his desire to make his own personal bonsai pots. It can be said that Mr. Mizuno, like everyone who was struck by the charm of pottery, he devoted his life to the passion of ceramics. This disturbed his family, and he had to go on the road alone. Mr. Mizuno lived through a turbulent life by entrusting the sorrows and joys of his life to a somewhat silent pottery career. He died on May 5th, 1945, when he was 80 years old. I see various seals at Heian Tofukuji Temple. The formal feudal, and he's referring to the trident maple seal or chop, the formal feudal lord Hao Maeda, who made this trident maple emblem, was loved by Mr. Mizuno. The emblem was loved by Mr. Mizuno. This is why Mr. Mizuno, I'm referring to Tofukuji here, put this emblem or stamp on his own wares. Also, by the way, the precincts of Tofukuji Temple are also famous for their maples. Okay, now we are looking at one of Mr. Mizuno's, now we know that's his name, one of his pots. This bonsai pot is very rare for the Tofukuji kiln, and the soft color is attractive and gorgeous. It tickles the desire of people who like small bonsai pots. Okay, now we're looking at another pot by Mr. Mizuno. This pot is not said to be a great piece from the Tofukuji kiln, but I picked it up because it interested me. When I grabbed it in my hand and looked at it, I just couldn't get enough of it. It reminded me of the Sankai horse I saw in the museum in the Uno several years ago at the Oriental Ceramics exhibition. This bonsai pot is referred to as a white porcelain catfish bonsai pot. A square porcelain is rare for Mr. Mizuno. It is said that the dyeing of the catfish is especially rare. However, the painting does not seem to be done by Mr. Mizuno. This bowl seems to be an early work of the Tofukuji kiln. Various Tofukuji seals are stamped on the side. On the inside, there is a sentence, like the one shown on photo 82, which I'm going to refer to right now. We are now referring to photo 82. This person seems to be the creator of the pot's painting. When it was made, it may have been flashy, but now the catfish motif is commonly used. The author refers to this bonsai pot as the Paulownia flower crest bonsai pot. The Paulownia flower is encrusted on the front of this bonsai pot, and the lion rings garnish both sides of the pot. This makes the pot magnificent to see. The shape is so-called okami oval, which is deep and very easy to use. There are many windows at the Tofukuji temple that have similar engravings like this bowl, a possible source for Mizuno's inspiration. Here is a pearskin mud drum body by the Tofukuji kiln. The drum body is wonderful. Mizuno made a lot of pearskin bonsai pots near the end of his life. From looking at this pot from the perspective of a workmanship and the patina, it seems to be from Mr. Mizuno's middle age. The pot was made with careful attention to detail, and those who owned this pot took great care of it. The age is wonderful on this pot. Okay, everyone, that is the end of chapter 1 of this book from 1976. So I think it's really interesting to hear this translation of Hirosaburo's bonsai pot collection, and especially on the history of Tofukuji. If you liked it, please let me know, and I'll be translating more chapters for you guys to read or listen to, like a podcast, because I know there's not a lot of good information out there, and a lot of it comes from secondhand sources, and I'm trying to allow us to get the information almost directly. So I'm trying to stay true to the translations as best as I can. And thanks for enduring my pronunciation of a lot of these words. Some of them are pretty difficult for me personally to pronounce. And thank you for sticking around if you listened, and I'll see you next time. And be sure to like the video, please, and check out my website, kibonsaiart.com. Thank you. Bye.